ReZero, Side Story, Anastasia's moving picture scroll.
On that day, in a small, reserved corner of the royal capital, a small celebration was taking place. Come on, you guys. Instead of acting up, if you don't finish cleaning up quickly, I won't be able to make the day a sukiyaki pancake. The one clapping and commanding the group was a short girl. She wore a long white coat, made out of animal fur, and had wavy purple hair. Her neck was adorned with a white fox scarf and, combined with her own lovely appearance, the girl gave an impression of purity to all who saw her. The woman's name was Anastasia Hoshin. A young and beautiful merchant, running a large commercial company called the Hoshin Trading Company, hailing from the Kuraragai city-state, and in front of her stood an unoccupied building, totally empty on the inside, her new base of operations, established in the kingdom of Lagunica. Come on. We gotta hurry so that the boss can make her special pancake. Let's go. Wait, Oni-chan. That box has fragile objects in it, if Oni-chan carries it this rouge. Oh. Little silhouettes ran back and forth near Anastasia, who witnessed their work with her hands on her hips. At that moment, one of the children tripped and fell, but managed to throw the box she was holding into the air. Oi. You're hopeless, Mimi. You have to realize how small you are, how short your arms are, how careless you are, and how cute your face is. Oh. Never mind the face. Just be aware of the rest. Mimi, Captain. You're the bestest. You're carrying mine too, even though you're already carrying a lot. The beast of a man was able to catch the girl and the box she held before they fell. The girl was carried up as well, laughing hysterically, pulling at the demi-human's dark brown hairstyle like a mane. The girl laughs innocently, and the beast man forgives her with a toothy smile. Anastasia couldn't help but loosen her cheeks at the sight of the girl's younger brother in a panic in front of the two. I see this as being quite the lively relocation. The one who made that comment was a very spiffy-looking young man with a tense expression on his face, who had walked up next to the girl. He appeared to be approximately in his mid-teens, and had his lilac hair dressed in a ponytail. His face could be said to be androgynous, and he had a slender build. If it weren't for his transitioning voice, he may have been easily confused for a girl. Anastasia, right? Not only those two, but everyone here is cheerful, just as you see. I think the only exceptions are the other two vice captains, and the old Ojichin working in the administration. Please try to endure it. Yes, that lines up with what I was told. But is it possible to keep a normal life among this ruckus? Anastasia, well, in Kuraragai, you can't get by speaking in hushed tones. That's why everyone speaks loudly, gestures wildly, tells their stories melodramatically, and lies shamelessly. Joshua-kun, remember that. Joshua, so you're telling me that lying is done as naturally as breathing. I'll keep that in mind. Without changing his facial expression, Joshua Djurkalius accepted that advice, a gesture that Anastasia appreciated. It felt good to meet people who knew how to actively incorporate external elements to better themselves, whatever the influence. His ambition was also suitable for his young age and family background. Now all that was left was for him to taste frustration and hardship, and be greedy enough to stand back up again, and succeed in life. Joshua-san. May I help you with that? Joshua, thank you. Let me see, you're Vice Captain Tivy, right? Well then, I request you bring that there. Correction. Her appraisal of that young man was even higher now. She appreciated the fact that he was able to correctly guess which one of the three triplets had come to him, which was important to her, who could match their names with their appearance instantly. Anastasia, it is rare to find someone who is able to tell apart the triplets in so little time. Anastasia tilted her head, wondering if it was truly that difficult to differentiate them. It was true that they were similar, but each of them had their unique charm. It was a mystery. Tivy wears a monocle and was the smartest among the three. Hetaro always had a worried face, revealing his sensitive side, and Mimi was simple-minded and the very embodiment of cute innocence. Those were the triplet vice captains of the Iron Fang, the mercenary army of the Hoshin Trading Company. and the one who was in charge of all troops, the captain of all those soldiers, was the Beastman from before. ? What is it, boss lady? What's that creepy smile, huh? Are ya hungover or something? We can't deal with you right now, we're busy. Anastasia, that's a terrible accusation, Ricardo. Hurry up and get your work done. Otherwise, Ricardo's food will end up in Mimi's stomach. Mimi, ooh. Mimi's gonna have a full belly. Ricardo, why not? I'm working harder than everyone else, too. Ricardo opened his enormous mouth, talked loudly, made exaggerated gestures and laments himself loudly. His mouth was so big and full of fangs, he could eat Anastasia in 2 bites. His muscular body was covered with brown body hair, and his furry tail was swinging in excitement from one side to another. Such features, as well as his canine-looking face, were irrefutable proof that he was a dog demi-human. Mimi, who was riding on Ricardo's shoulders, is also a kitten demi-human, with orange body hair and wiggling cat ears. Anastasia's Iron Fang was a mercenary group, composed solely of beastmen. In fact, almost everyone helping with the relocation were beastmen, as the only humans present were Anastasia, Joshua, and another man. ? It's being quite the cheerful relocation, isn't it, Anastasia Summer? The beautiful voice, that seems as if it were blessed by the wind, belongs to the young man standing right next to Anastasia. Purple hair that is slightly darker in color than Anastasia's own, which had a light color. The young man's eyes, who adjusted his bangs, are yellow, and his face so enchanting many women would be put in a daze if he smiled. As opposed to Joshua's thin body, his was well-toned, and far from looking frail. The best way to describe it would be beautiful and strong. Anastasia liked excellence, above all. Besides excellence, she also enjoyed pretty things. For that reason, that man who was a perfect fusion of excellency and beauty, was extremely desirable for her. If she weren't resolute in her ambition, and didn't possess greed that far surpassed her carnal desires, she might have had her heart snatched away by that man. The kingdom of Lagunaca's impeccable knight, Julius Jucilius, stood a class apart just like that. Anastasia laughed at Julius, who had changed to comfortable clothes after coming back from work. Anastasia, you brothers said exactly the same thing. Julius, that's extremely embarrassing. To follow my own younger brother's footsteps. Anastasia, nah, I don't think so. You brothers get on pretty well. I actually got a little jealous. Taking a step back, she narrowed her eyes with both Julius and Joshua in her field of view. Joshua, realizing he was being looked at by Anastasia, turned his head and asked, Joshua, does Anastasia Summer not have any siblings? Anastasia, Well, I'm not sure. In response, she tilted her head and closed one eye. Reacting, Julius reckoned his brother Joshua. Julius, I do not like such inquisitiveness. That is not a very nice thing to do, especially to ladies. Pay heed to that. Anastasia, no. If you scold him like that, I'll lose my temper. It's just that I didn't understand and answered in a weird way. Waving, Anastasia smiled at Joshua, who had retracted himself, and touched the fox scarf wrapped around her neck, deep in thought for some time. Anastasia, Tivy, yes, ma'am. Joshua-san, you can leave the organization of these materials to me, so you three can have an important talk together. Anastasia, you understood it all from one word. I'm mesmerized by how cute and competent you are. It was not by chance that Tivy was known as the most astute and gentlemanly of the Iron Fang. Without him, such a large group, composed of people who lacked in perfectionism, would not work together as well. Even with Anastasia's compliment, the little kitten demi-human kept the same facial expression and started to take care of Joshua's lot of tasks. The young man had a troubled face initially, but his brother put his hand on Joshua's shoulder. Julius, do you wish to go somewhere else, Anastasia Summer? It'll be hard to offer guarantees that other people will not eavesdrop. Anastasia, it's all right, it's no secret. Besides, if I don't keep an eye on this bunch, they'll start slacking off. Let's stay at this place. Turning to Joshua, she continued, Anastasia, in fairness, about your question from before, it's not like I was trying to dodge the question, you know. I've no memories of my family, so I honestly can't answer ya. Joshua, are you saying you cannot remember your past? Anastasia, no. As long as I've been self-aware, I was already alone, living in the most miserable place in Kararagai. 'Twas a miracle I didn't become a slave. And not only do I not know my own parents, but I even had to give myself a name. Joshua must have had a good upbringing. He couldn't have imagined that. As she had said, both her name and her family name were self-given. When she was living in a hole in the ground, she dreamed to one day crawl out of it, and so her name was a pun on the word hole. It was comical to think that her ambition and pride had been so strong, even as a dreamer with nothing to her name. Joshua, so your surname, Hoshin, was also something you decided to give yourself. Anastasia, well, I don't think there's anyone else with that surname. Especially in Kararagai, no one'd be as bold as to do that. After all, the most famous legend among us merchants is Hoshin of the Wastes. It's quite the ridiculous claim. In fact, Anastasia's sanity was questioned many times at the time the Hoshin Trading Company was founded. She couldn't stifle a short laugh, thinking of the conversation she had at the time with Ricardo. Anastasia, if you're asking if I'm sane or not, I'm pretty sure I lost it quite some time ago, to be honest. The current captain of the Iron Fang had once upon a time spent a lot of time worrying about it, but he was actually the first person to support this crazy gamble to move to Lagunica. Apparently, greed was contagious. Joshua, I understand. Now, the apparent reason why Anastasia Summer trusts demi-humans, and has an army such as the Iron Fang under her command, has become clear to me. Anastasia, that's so. You are able to tell all that just from what I spoke? Joshua, yes. It is understandable from the story of your origin and name, allied to what little I was able to see from your personality. It's exactly because of you having such peculiar ideas, that you have no hesitation in appointing demi-humans in high positions, of all things. Anastasia widened her eyes with Joshua's direct statement, who was looking at her as if analyzing her. Julius, however, was clearly surprised at his younger brother's rant. That shock turned to anger, and Anastasia acted before Joshua was reprimanded. Anastasia, I see. Joshua-kun, you really are protective of your older brother, aren't you? Julius, Anastasia Summer. Anastasia, Joshua-kun's troubled. Me, a foreigner, is sticking her nose into such an important topic for the kingdom of Lagunica, with the backing of the Ducalius house. Which, in turn, is represented by yourself, Julius. Your brother is playing the villain so he can know if I'm truly worthy of your trust. Joshua said nothing in reply, getting paler. Anastasia could even see his eyes trembling slightly. That was enough for Anastasia. Anastasia, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. All I believe in is that race has nothing to do with people's abilities. My staff, other than being real helpful, they are all so very adorable. Why would I not give them the treatment they deserve? Joshua, in Lagunica, discrimination towards demi-humans has yet to be totally eradicated. Anastasia, I know, and I think that's the kind of stuff that normally happens in a country with such a long history. I can imagine people still have a lot of grudges from the time of the demi-human war. But let me tell ya, I think that's just damn silly. Anastasia shrugged at Joshua's defense. Anastasia, race or blood, neither say absolutely nothing about a person's worth. The only things that matter are one's essence and willpower. When I sit upon that throne, I will follow that philosophy to a T. All right, Joshua, so Anastasia Summer is truly vying for the throne. Anastasia, oh, so that's what you were worried about? How seriously are you making a claim for the throne of another country? From Joshua's point of view, he was right to question the dedication of a person in that position. That was natural. Her way of thinking was very out of the ordinary in the kingdom of Lagunica, so she would be at a clear disadvantage. However, Anastasia was willing to bet her own soul. Anastasia, all right then, how about a promise? I'll compete for the throne with all I have, and I swear I won't cut corners when it comes to the royal selection at any moment. I don't need to say that I'm not a strange actor from Kararagai that wishes to benefit Kararagai in any way, right? I've never been this serious in my life, you know. Joshua, if you make such careless promises, you might come to regret it, one day. Anastasia, no, I won't. If Joshua was not yet convinced, Anastasia made it a point to drive it home, penetrating him with her gaze. Anastasia, I'll keep my promises, no matter what they are. Posthumously too, Hoshin keeps his promises, is Kuraragai's national belief, and that too is my sort of determination. From the moment I decided to use his name as my own, I also decided I'd never trample on his legacy. Joshua, Anastasia, that's why we keep our promises. No matter what, that is the true meaning of having borrowed the name of Hoshin, the founding hero of Kuraragai. Joshua gulped, and beside him, Julius kneeled, emotion visible on his face. Seeing him, after a few seconds, the younger brother followed his lead. Julius, Anastasia Summer, please, forgive my naive brother's rudeness. However, I must confess I truly admire your words. Now, I was able to ascertain that your arrival to Lagunica was a blessing. Anastasia, I'm happy with your compliment, but all I did was state the obvious, you know? Well, if it was enough for you to know how serious I can be at times, that's all right. Now I'm starting to feel embarrassed about it, I'm going all red. The girl was shyly smiling as she turned one way and the other with her face held in her hands. Then both brothers stood up, and Joshua looked at Anastasia in silence. Joshua, the boy had no idea of what he should say. Maybe, the world Anastasia had lived in could not be understood by applying the common sense of the kingdom of Lagunica. But if that's how things were, then, Anastasia, Joshua, work yourself to the bone, and get a little bit hungry until the evening. Joshua, Anastasia, and then, when that's all over, I'll thank you with my wonderful and special Daisukiyaki. Mimi and Ricardo love it, and I'm sure you're gonna like it so much you'll fall off your chair. With Anastasia's words, punctuated by her beautiful smile, Joshua's first reaction was to stay and ponder on those words for a few seconds, until he ran to Tivi to help him with organizing files, his determination visibly flaring up. Julius, I am very sorry, Anastasia Summer. My brother still has a narrow-minded view of the world, and that led him to confront you. Visibly proud of herself, Anastasia pushed out her chest with her hands on her hips. Anastasia, then, today'll be the day in which he'll start cracking out of his stubborn shell. Your race or hierarchy doesn't matter when eating delicious food. Once he understands that, he'll learn to treat these children as equals. With a bitter smile at Julius's noticeable emotion, Anastasia stroked the fox scarf wrapped around her neck as if out of habit. The fox scarf swung quietly, as if it had been tickled by her fingers.